So we're in the middle of one of the worst crises that our industry has ever faced.
We're at the cusp of a new revolution in aerospace. There's lots of new opportunities.
What does the future of aviation look like? Will we fly with net zero emissions by 2050? Or has the COVID-19 pandemic pushed the aviation industry's sustainability goals out of reach?
The aerospace industry has been truly innovative. I mean, over the last 100 years, there's a focus on weight, there's a focus on the propulsion innovation, there's a focus on the aerodynamics and the configuration.
During the last 40 years, we chose to prioritize making traveling by air more convenient, efficient, and available to the masses. But by the end of the 2010s, we saw a shift in consciousness toward a new guiding principle: achieving net zero. For the aviation industry to retain its license to operate, air travel needs to reach a state of zero greenhouse gas emissions.
The innovation has probably been a little bit more behind the scenes, less visible to the flying public than perhaps those very early days when different aircraft were coming out every year.
Huge industry players such as Airbus, Boeing, and NASA are exploring sustainable propulsion technology, fueling aircraft with renewable energy sources such as solar and wind power. Another way to cut emissions is to make planes lighter. There are also revolutionary ideas on the drawing board for intelligent, shape-shifting aircraft that know how to morph in flight to suit flying conditions. Groundbreaking technologies are much needed, as in the 2010s, flying grew to become more popular than ever. By 2019, the number of passengers reached a staggering 4.6 billion, with the number expected to double by 2037. But then, the skies went silent. In early 2020, COVID-19 halted the aviation industry. 2020 marked the worst downturn for aviation in its entire history. Global passenger traffic was reduced to levels last seen in 1999.
Even though industries themselves are maybe struggling, the interesting thing about COVID is it hasn't affected at all people's desire and appetite to actually do the research to help achieve longer-term sustainability goals.
In 2020, Airbus revealed 3 concepts for the world's first zero-emission commercial aircraft, which could enter service by 2035. And in December 2020, British Airways announced it has partnered up with ZeroAvia to speed up hydrogen-powered flight. But will the carbon-cutting technologies in the pipeline be enough to reach the industry's goal to cut net carbon emissions by 50% by 2050 compared to 2005?
The impact of SAF on our future in aviation is absolutely huge. The reason being that just because of the laws of gravity, we won't by that point be in a position where zero emissions aircraft, battery or hydrogen-powered aircraft are able to fly long distances. If we're going to achieve emissions reductions, that has to be through SAF.
One of the companies developing new production technologies for sustainable aviation fuel is Neste, the world's leading producer of sustainable aviation fuel produced from waste and residue raw materials.
Already with the technologies and raw materials that we have available today, we have the potential to substitute up to 10% of global jet fuel use with sustainable aviation fuels. The second horizon will be about technologies using raw materials such as municipal solid waste and lignocellulosics becoming commercial in the next 5 to 10 year horizon, with the potential already to fully substitute fossil jet fuel use. And beyond that, commercialization of power to liquids technologies in 10 years horizon are going to grow the potential even further beyond that.
The big question is, will we get to zero emissions on time to reach the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement? Will our children get to fly sustainably?
But to me, if there's a personal driver, it's achieving that balance for my children, for everybody's children, for the future generations. I think it's possible. I've seen that it's possible. We just need to really push the agenda ahead in the coming decade in order to get there.
If aviation industry partners and governments work together, utilizing all possible short and long-term solutions, we may achieve net zero aviation by 2050.